We're at the Jefferson District Court in Louisville, Kentucky, for a bond hearing involving defendant Bryce Rhodes. Rhodes has already been indicted on multiple charges, including the murders of 3 people, 2 of them teenage boys. Since his arrest, Rhodes' behavior has been unpredictable and at times violent. As a result, he's wheeled in wearing restraints and a spit mask.
Mr. Rhodes, you can just bring him up right here.
Why y'all have me come out like this for?
I think you know why.
What?
You know exactly why. Now,
out.
listen, stop talking. You have been...
God.
Are you done?
No, I ain't done.
You've been charged with assault in the 4th degree. I'm gonna keep talking because I don't want to have to see you back here for this.
What you think can't find out where you live at? What you think at? Bitch, I don't give a fuck about none of that. I ain't do shit.
So you're saying you're gonna find out where I live
I don't
at?
give a fuck about none of that. You gotta sound me, I'll be out.
Okay.
Yeah,
You've been charged with assault in the 4th degree, minor injury, terroristic threatening in the 3rd degree, and harassment with physical contact. These are new charges. I'm entering a plea of not guilty on your behalf. Would you like me to read the arrest warrant to you?
No, I'm not guilty.
I am setting a bond of $15,000 full cash on that on those charges, and the other case, once this actually gets served on you, is going to be dismissed without prejudice as duplicate. Do you have any questions? Would you like the appointment of a public defender?
Not guilty.
I just said that.
Not guilty.
I just said that.
I'll be out.
Okay,
right.
I just said that.
All right.
And would you like an attorney?
Take me back to my cell.
I'm not taking you anywhere. They can take you back, but would you like an attorney?
All right.
Okay. I'm gonna appoint the public defender's office.
Rhodes is wheeled out of court and back into custody. The judge waits to address the prosecutor.
Ms. Shoring, that was a threat against the court. I think that I'm asking the county attorney's office to take that into account and consider what to do with that.
As a result of this incident, Rhodes is hit with a new charge of terroristic threatening in the 3rd degree and intimidating a participant in the legal process. His case is ongoing. Next, we're in Paris, Kentucky, where 30-year-old Bass Webb has been charged with 2 counts of attempted murder. This surveillance video taken outside a Kentucky jail a week earlier captured the moment when Webb, a former inmate there who served 3 months on assault charges, accelerated his car and tried to run over 2 jail employees. One man was able to get out of the way, but one man was injured after Webb's vehicle pinned him against the wall. At his first court appearance before Judge Vanessa Dixon, Webb's bad behavior continued. Judge Dixon then informed Webb she's recusing herself from the trial because she knew the 2 jail employees he targeted with his vehicle.
There's no way I'm going to try this case or have any further proceedings, or I have to see you for one further setting. Except for the hearing next week.
Watch again as Webb literally spit on the judge. But this incident is far from the last time Bass Webb will spit in the face of the law. While waiting to go to trial, he and 4 other inmates incited a riot inside the Fayette County Detention Center. After being shot with beanbag bullets, then hit in the neck by a pepper ball, Webb whips a metal telephone box at a corrections officer.
If I were to launch this at someone 10 feet away, because this is capable of stopping that, does not mean that that is not readily capable of causing death or serious physical injury.
Webb was found guilty of 3rd-degree assault and sentenced to 15 years in prison. And for his attempt to run over the 2 jail employees, He was later found guilty of 2 counts of attempted murder and got an additional 37 years. Bass Webb was facing a total of 52 years behind bars, but more disturbing accusations were on the way. While incarcerated, he was charged with the unsolved murder of an ex-girlfriend. Facing a possible death sentence if convicted at trial, Webb pled guilty to the murder and got an additional 50 years. Now, 5 years later, Bass Webb is back in court yet again after being charged with the murder of a different girlfriend nearly a decade earlier. The cold case came back to haunt him after a jailhouse tip led to the discovery of the woman's remains. This time, as he's let in, he reveals a new sinister look that shocks those in attendance. A closer look at Webb's recent head tattoos reveals a demented murder hit list. It reads, "Those that must die, all judges, all prosecutors, all cops, the media." Below that, 3 rats have been scratched out, and many more, plus an expletive on the other side. Gruesome details emerge about how Webb choked his then-girlfriend to death, buried her body in a shallow grave.
Mr. Webb, do you want to come forward?
When the judge asks Webb to come forward, he remains seated and smiles. Finally, after more than a week in the courtroom, the judge reads the jury's verdict.
You have found the defendant guilty of the offense of intentional murder.
Bass Webb is then sentenced to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after 25 years.
Milton Watts.
Next, we're in Berea Municipal Court. The defendant, 21-year-old Milton Watts, has turned himself in after a warrant was issued for his arrest for failure to appear on a domestic violence charge.
You were supposed to be here last month. You did not appear. Why weren't you here?
My mom didn't show up. Somebody died in the family. There was no reason for me to be here.
Well, it's not an engraved invitation, son. It's a court order.
Things are clearly off to a rocky start between Watts and Judge Chris Green. But Watts seems comfortable handling the situation on his own.
Your attorney withdrew, so you'll have to hire an attorney?
I don't need an attorney.
You're a lawyer?
Nope.
Unfortunately for Watts, his grasp on the legal process seems spotty at best.
You want to talk to me about me, bond with me? What do you want to tell me?
About what?
Bond?
Don't really give a fuck, to be honest with you.
Judge Green, who's known for his no-nonsense style, doesn't seem particularly receptive to the attitude.
That's going to cost you 30 days in the county jail for contempt. Cuff him if you got the cuffs. Hold on, it's $5,000 cash surety bond, subject to the temporary protection order.
Watts' remarks have already cost him dearly. And now, he doubles down.
He just swore at the judge. Can I give you a piece of advice?
What?
You can either make life easy or you can make life hard.
Fuck it. I already ruined my life.
That's 60. You want to go for 90?
Fuck it.
That's 90 more.
Fuck it, fuck it, fuck it, fuck it.
That's 180.
Fuck it!
That's 360.
Fuck it. Now I gotta fucking come here and fuck my life up. Fuck you!
No, and stop.
How many days you wanna give me now? Are you still counting, bitch?
No.
Yeah, I'm at about a year right now in contempt, so.
Watts' mother and sister attempt to intervene, but there is no stopping the foul-mouthed tyrant.
I don't care.
I don't give a fuck you.
No, stop.
Fuck everybody. Fuck you.
No, and
Fuck the power.
Good.
Fuck the power.
Good.
Suck the fucking daddy dick, fucking bitch.
That's stupid. Melvin, stop. Stop it. You're not even getting in trouble.
Fuck this
Melvin, Melvin, listen. You're going
Who the fuck you think's telling me fucking anything?
Listen. Now listen. No.
Deputies have words down.
Melvin.
Just let him do what you do. Not going to do anything. I'm just causing more. That's ignorant. That's what he is.
Despite the judge going all the way up to 360 days in the heat of the moment, once Watts calmed down, the judge ultimately decided to reduce the sentence to 90 days in jail, 4 days per 4-letter word. For the initial domestic violence charge he was originally in court for, he later pled no contest and was sentenced to 5 days in jail. We head now to Jackson, Michigan, to the 4th Circuit Court. A personal protection violation hearing is on against this man, Jacob Larson. The defendant's accused of sending unwanted advances through Facebook messages to this woman seated here, a former high school acquaintance. This incident's a violation of a restraining order against Jacob.
All those messages were like, a lot of them were like last year. Let me ask you, how many of them were after, how many of them were after the days of PPO? 22. I don't post on that much. What's that? I don't post on that much.
This is the second time the judge has questioned the defendant about his contact with the plaintiff. In fact, the same judge had issued the defendant's original PPO 4 months earlier.
Yeah, I know, but it's like this fatal attraction kind of stuff that I warned you about last time. I told you to just leave her alone. She was a classmate of yours. She apparently has no interest in seeing you.
I want her to tell me to leave her alone.
You know what? I told you to leave her alone. And apparently that didn't get through loud and clear. So today, you're going to jail for 3 days. All right? And the next time you violate it, you're going to jail for...
You and her are all
You know what? You got a bad attitude. You had a bad attitude last time you were in court. Okay?
You and her are buddy-buddy. Y'all get along. Y'all are...
45 days county jail. Okay? 93 days in the county jail. You want to go for a year? Try it right now. One more word on you, it'll be a year of county.
Over Facebook. Really?
Over violations of my PPO and your conduct in the courtroom. 93 days in count.
The judge, clearly agitated by the defiant defendant, is sending him to jail.
I ain't never threatened
Stand up. Cuff him. Stand up. Yeah.
Buddy, motherfucker.
Stand up. You're going to jail for a year in the county. 365 days county jail.
Can't do that shit.
Appeal it.
I will.
Good. Put your hands behind your back
Tell me
now.
to leave you alone. Tell me to leave you alone. Tell me right now.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Tase his ass right now.
The judge now steps in to help subdue the defendant.
Put it down. That's a nut for you. All right? We'll make it 93. You can think about it. All right?
Over Facebook.
You know her. Well, so I know her.
That's not
In the
fair.
community. Get to know you all too much.
I'm a good person. That's all right.
93 days.
Larson sentenced to 93 days in county jail.
Can't tell me to leave you alone. Can't tell me to leave you alone.
What?
Whoa.
Get back! Get back! Get back!
Next, we go to a bond hearing in Elyria, Ohio. Appearing remotely is the defendant, Ebony Burks. She's charged with misdemeanor assault and domestic violence against her grandfather, Shedrick McRae, and his companion. At the bench is Judge Gary Bennett.
Good morning, Miss Burks.
Good morning.
After reading the charges, the judge asked Burks how she'd like to plead.
You have 3 pleas available to you today. Guilty, not guilty, and no contest. What plea would you enter?
I'm not guilty.
So far, so good. The judge sets bond for the 2 charges at $15,000. His only condition is that Burks not be in contact with the victims, which could be difficult since she shares a home with McRae.
No contact means you can't call him, you can't write him, you can't text him, you can't email him, can't leave a message on some social media, you can't go visit him. If you go someplace, even though you may have arrived first and one of them shows up, you have to leave.
So you gonna tell me I can't go home?
I'm telling you, you can't go home. If you live with Mr. McRae, you cannot return to that residence.
Oh, but how you just gonna tell me I can't go home though?
What?
How you gonna tell me I can't go to my home?
I just did.
Typically right about now, a lawyer or even a judge might try to de-escalate the situation. But it's clear this is not a typical bond hearing.
How you gonna tell me I can't go to my home?
I just did.
Well, I bet I do.
Well, then you're in contempt, young lady, and you got 30 days. So you're not going. You're not what?
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Get back! Get back!
You just said I got 30
Get
days.
back!
I'm not getting nothing else.
That's another 30 days. That's 60 days.
So what?
90 days.
So?
120 days.
Okay, and?
180 days.
Oh! He's quiet. Get off me. Get your hands off me, man.
It looks like Burks may be finished.
What else you got to say?
Hold on, she's coming back.
Nothing. We'll talk in 6 months when you're ready to come back for your case.
I ain't got money.
That's 200 days. You got anything else to say, Miss Burks?
You.
That's 300 days.
Though she racked up 300 days, Burks only ended up serving 88. According to Judge Bennett, it was the longest sentence he's ever imposed for contempt of court. As for her assault and domestic violence charges, they were suspended, but she was forced to enter a substance abuse program.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Not as sorry as she's gonna be.